Hi, my name is Darren Joseph from HTJ.tax, and we're the team that seeks to demystify that sometimes confusing world of international tax. And today we have the honor and privilege of having another conversation with Leonardo. Leonardo, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Darren, thank you very much for having me. I'd like to start by saying hello to everyone that is watching. My name is Leonardo Marques Sanchez. Just call me Leo, it's easier. I'm a tax lawyer, a tax partner in a law firm in Portugal, also a tax law professor at the Portuguese Catholic University. My main areas of focus at this point are national, domestic, and international issues pertaining to individuals. So I think that's a little bit of what we are going to discuss today, right?
All right, fantastic. Let's talk about, well, I know politically is a bit sensitive, but let's talk about buying real estate in Portugal. If I buy a house in Portugal, are there any tax incentives that I could look out for?
Oh yeah, real estate and housing has been a huge problem, or has been pointed out by
Yeah.
governments and civil society as a big problem, especially in big city centers such as
Mm,
Lisbon. So a while back, or from a while back, a few measures have been adopted, some of them with a tax content to create incentives to buy a house. So
mhm.
there is, for instance, an incentive, a tax incentive on real estate transfer tax and stamp duty. So when you buy a house, you have to pay real estate transfer tax and stamp duty. So there
Mhm.
is an incentive for young people with an age up until 35. Unfortunately, I will not be able to benefit from that. There is an exemption when they buy houses up to an amount of roughly 324K,
Mhm.
and there will be a reduced rate or when you buy a house up to 648K. Roughly, these
Mhm.
amounts will even change. I think with the next budget. So yes, there is an incentive. This will apply even if you're not a Portuguese national, provided you
Okay.
have your residence in Portugal. So it's
Mhm.
more of an issue of residence,
Yeah.
age, and amount than a matter of nationality. So yes, there will be
Mm.
some incentives. There was some chatter. Even, I mean, the prime minister announced a few measures in the end of September, announcing that there would be an increase of real estate transfer tax for foreigners. But I still don't know how it will work, because
Mhm.
depending on how the measure is created and drafted, there may be a violation of European tax law. So let's
Mhm.
wait and see. But yes, there are incentives if you buy a house in Portugal. Also, there will be some incentives. This will be this was approved. Actually, it was not. It was approved by the government, but it still have to be approved by the parliament. There will be
Right.
some measures that aim at reducing the price of the houses. So VAT, we have a standard rate of 23%,
Mhm.
and there is a goal um, to reduce the VAT for 6% if
Mm.
the house is either sold to primary houses, roughly with a purchase price of roughly 640 something K,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
if they're leased in what they called a moderate lease. It's not just for what do you call it? Those leases for that provide assistance for people with low income. It's for
Okay.
moderate. It's for the middle class. So
Middle
you'll be
class, right?
you'll be able to benefit from that
Mhm.
6% rate if you lease the house for primary use, if the rent does not exceed 2,300 euros. So there are some
Mm.
measures. I
Mhm.
think new things will be approved in the months to come, because there is a real concern with the issue at this moment.
Okay. And let's stay with that topic for a bit. What about for, let's look at the point of view of foreigners who move to Portugal, become tax resident, they want to buy real estate. Is there an advantage to owning real estate in your own name versus using a company to hold it? Or is it more or less tax neutral?
Oh, that's an excellent question,
Mhm.
especially if we widen the parameters to outside of taxation. What I
Okay.
would say is you're talking about residents or non-residents?
Someone who's resident in Portugal. Yeah.
One who's resident. I would say that from tax standpoint, to own the house directly will not be detrimental for two reasons. Capital gains on the sale of real estate property are not that high. How do you compute them? You will, first of all, obviously, it's a difference between the acquisition price and the sales price. You will also
Mhm.
increase the acquisition value by considering the devaluation of currency and some costs with for instance, construction, etc. But
Mhm.
then the capital gain is only taxable in half. So 50% of the gain is excluded from taxation.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
our tax, it will be liable to a progressive tax rate, and
Mhm.
our maximum tax rate is 53%.
Yeah.
Okay? Over
Mhm.
250K, it will be 53%.
Okay.
Up until that point, it will be progressive. So, I mean, the capital gain will be taxable only at 20 something percent.
Mhm.
You know, in all chances, it will be not, it will not be a very high tax rate. Second
Mhm.
reason is if you own the house directly, you can lease it. And if you can lease it directly, there is a chance that you can apply reduced tax rates on the rent. Why is that?
Mhm.
Because of
Mhm.
this concern that we have with creating
Yeah.
housing conditions.
Mhm.
There is a 15% rate if you lease for a period of at least 5 years.
Mhm.
And the government has announced, it's not law yet, but it has announced that the tax rate may be reduced to 10% for leases of 3 years or over that, depending on the amounts, etc. So from a tax standpoint, I mean, to lease a house directly may be advantageous. Whereas
Yep.
if you own it, then if you own it through a company, we need to check. Well, again, it's
Yeah.
always a case by case analysis. But
Mhm.
sometimes what I see is
Mhm.
that, I mean, the real estate will depreciate. There will be a
Mhm.
dormant gain there.
Mhm.
Then if you sell it, the gain will be taxable, and the corporate income tax, you will have your at a 20 something percent tax rate, depending on, because we also have progressivity on corporate income tax and
Right.
also municipal and state surtaxes. So 20 something percent, let's
Mhm.
assume it can be even higher
Mhm.
on a corporate level. And if you distribute the money, it will be 28% on dividends. Now,
Then,
the
yeah.
advantage of owning it through a company is if you sell the company.
Mm.
So, but from a very practical standpoint, I
Mhm.
don't always see buyers willing to buy a company vis-a-vis buying the real estate directly. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it is not a safe thing, so to speak.
Mhm.
And now, when I discuss this with some of my colleagues from the real estate department or from the corporate and M&A department,
Mhm.
there may be other reasons to keep it under a company. Well,
Mhm.
notably the protection of your assets.
Yeah.
So, all in all, I would say that the taxation of personally owned real estate is not punitive, far from it. It's actually
Mhm.
not that bad at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, every case is its case, and it
Sure.
depends. I would also say, just
Mhm.
feeling like I'm talking forever. I'm getting tired
Yeah.
to hear stuff. But
Yeah.
what, there are a number of elements that we should consider. For instance, do you have that property? Is it leased, or are you exploring a personal lodging or Airbnb or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
Because if you have a real business working there,
Mhm.
perhaps it will be easier to convince a buyer to buy the
Yeah.
company than if you're just have a company holding an apartment in Lisbon city center, which may or may not have been used the company
Mhm.
to for some personal expenses. Maybe there is some liability or
Mhm.
contingency hidden there. So a lot of elements that we should consider. But all in all, personally owned real estate is not that bad.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, that's pretty comprehensive. Yeah. Leo, if people wanted to get in touch with you, to hire yourself, to hire your team, what's the best way to find you?
I think I can be easily found on Google. So just Google my name. Leonardo Marques dos Santos, and I think the law firm, Miranda's law firm website will immediately pop up with my email addresses. That will be easier. I'm easy to find.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.